This week on Getting Up to Speed is a series of special interviews covering the life of Morrie Williams as well as Williams Motorsports. We got a chance to talk with several personalities, a lot of drivers, as well as longtime crew chief Ashley Smith of some of their best memories and stories about Morrie. And so this week is dedicated to that great person whom we will be honoring in September 30th at King Speedway, powered by Keller Motors in Hanford, California on Saturday night. Well, as we continue the Remembering Morrie Williams series, we go to Australia's Peter Murphy. Peter drove the Williams Motorsports number 0 from the late 90s to the early 2000s. And in this interview, Pete talks about how the initial talks went with Morrie Williams one weekend during the Nationals in Knoxville, how it went from a week-to-week deal to a full-time gig, his move to California, some of the long trips that they took, and some great stories about Morrie Williams himself. That is coming up next after these messages. Dave's Home Supply specializes in cabinets, flooring, and countertops. Visit their website at daveshomesupply.com to look at products, services, financing, and even a free estimate. Are you looking for bookkeeping, payroll, or income tax services? Then check out the folks at For You Simple Bookkeeping. They are a licensed tax preparer throughout the entire United States. For more information, click on the link in the description. This broadcast is brought to you by Meat Freaks Jerky Club. Get the best jerky the world has to offer straight to your door by visiting meatfreaksjerkyclub.com. Pick your box and plan, tell them where to ship, and receive and enjoy. Log on to meatfreaksjerky.com and use promo code SPEED. So I guess, Pete, just tell me kind of, how did everything start with you and Morrie? What was the introduction like between you two? And from what you remember, when was the first time you guys interacted with each other?
I'm going to say it was Knoxville, 97.
And you were living there at the time, but...
No, at the time I was living in Indiana. I was living with Steve Kinser's place.
Okay.
And I had a ride at the Nationals. And but my ride was over after the Nationals. And because I was either crewing or for Steve and with his Quaker State days, I was either crewing for him or, working back at the shop. I knew most of the outlaw drivers and most of the outlaw owners. Excuse me. And Sonny Kratzer was the head crew chief on the San Michelle 11H. And at the time, Morrie was out there. And obviously, San Michelle's from Selma, California. And I knew Sonny pretty well. And he introduced me to Morrie at the Nationals. And Morrie didn't have a driver to go back to. I think Jimmy Carr was his driver, and then he quit to do something else. And then so they had Mike Peters driving the car at the Nationals, and it was only just for the Nationals. And so we met, introduced each other and met. And he said, "Oh, what are you doing next week?" After the Nationals this was the year Dave Blaney won it, I believe. And I said, "Oh, I'm, probably." I was going to hop in Steve's trailer and work my way back to California, and just be up with them, just being on the crew. And he said, "Oh, what are you doing? Well, next week then we'll go to Rock Springs, because the Outlaws are going from the Nationals to Rock Springs, Wyoming." And I said, "Yeah, that'd be there. Let's have a try, So I went there, and I obviously went there with Steve, and then had a spot, and they pulled up beside us at Rock Springs, Wyoming, and just to see how it all went. And we had to come from the B main, which I think we ran, second or third in that, and started 22nd in the A and finished 11th. And he says, "Whoa, what are you doing next week? What are you doing now?" I said, "Well, I'm heading to California." He says, "Well, because they were just going to go back home." And he says, "Well, the Outlaws were going to Elma, so well, let's go to Elma." So, and that's just how it started.
Every night was kind of like a trial, sort of.
Kind of, sort of. I think, once we went to Elma, I sort of kind of cemented in. We went to Chico and for the Gold Cup, and it was good because we went to Elma and then probably Medford, I think we went to with the Outlaws, probably Cottage Grove as well, I think, maybe, and then we ended up, down at Chico, and then the Outlaws went on back wherever they were going, and so he decided let's go. We were together then. And he said let's go do some NARC races. So we went to, I think it was Petaluma was the first NARC show we went to, and fortunately enough we set a new track record first time on the track with him, and we didn't win or anything, but we did set a track record, and we hang out with the NARC deal for a minute, and then we went back out to Texas, I think, to catch up with the Outlaws and stuff like that. So that was just it. There we were. So we just stayed. I think we were either 5 or 7 years. I'm thinking, I don't know, 5 years at least. Well, maybe so.
And how is that adjustment like? Racing for him as a car owner compared to other ones you have, was that an easy adjustment? Was he an easy person for you to?
He was absolutely easy. He was probably he was such a great man. He was just good, like and then when I did get back to Oakhurst, where there was a shanty we lived in, and the crew was in there and I was in there, and it was not 2-bedroom, it was a 2-room apartment, and there were 3 double beds in one room, and there was a couch and a TV in the other. So it was quite the adventure.
Yeah, that's what you were talking. It was like an army barracks kind of just.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So a lot of fun was had there, but it was just a good, he's just a good guy, good, and I got to be with him for so long that he was somewhat of a father figure to me, so and even when I wasn't driving for him in the end, he was still a father figure to me. Him and Katie, they were like, parents away from parents, if you know what I mean. So they were just always good people. So.
Well, and is this safe to say that he, by your two paths crossing together, if that hadn't happened, you most likely wouldn't be in California. You most likely wouldn't be promoting Kings. You most likely wouldn't be. It was a
it's hard to say, because you just don't know things, but it was just meant to be, and like I said, he was a great man, and it was very easy to be a person driving for him and stuff like that. He come to Australia, him and Katie come to Australia and spent probably 3 or 4 weeks with me and the team that I was driving for over there for the summer. So it was good. It was just he was just good people, and we were family. So I still, my family still hangs out a lot with Katie, as well now. So it's it's only the other day I was just thinking something when I went to Chico. I was like, man, I just wish I just wish he was around,
Yeah.
So.
Well, and what really stood out for me was you coming into the role of the Zero car, and you were one of you and Brooke Tatnall were some of the first Australians that I had seen. But what really stood out with Morrie's team is eventually he had some folks from your native land come in, which was really cool. I think Paul Baines came over and worked for him, and then Ashley Smith and Sean
Ashley
Greeley.
Smith was the first one. Ashley Smith was the first one, and he was, obviously now he married Morrie and Katie's daughter, and now he runs a Madco, which was Morrie's business. He is a Madco now, so everything seemed to be working out in the right direction,
Yeah.
And there was so many Australians that came over there, worked on the car or drove the car, So it was like a halfway house for immigrants, basically.
Yeah. No, and that was just something that really stood out. Was just I wouldn't say it was a motley bunch that he assembled together for the Zero Heroes team as far as the crew over the years, but just all sorts of different people from different places, which was really really unique and cool.
Yeah, no, it was always good, that's for sure. It's always good. Just good people. Again, like that's the best thing I say. Just good people.
Well, I mean, is there any particular races or trips that you guys went out together that really stood out that you felt so proud to either get him a win or a good performance, or just a trip that was so memorable where it was just all around good time?
Um, I think the best thing that I can ever, like, there's too many things up. One thing that stands out in my head now that you said that, like setting quick time and track record on the mile track in Sacramento, that was something special. But it's for the race to run 3 years and we only won it on the last year, you know. So we were running second, and I think, and it blew up. We were leading and got in lap traffic and got run over by the second place car and didn't finish. And then the last year we finally won it, so that was pretty good there. I think in Vegas in 2000 or 2001, we set quick time in Vegas on the final night, and we didn't make it through our heat because, you know, back then they was doing bird 6, take 5 or something, you know, and I didn't make it through, so I had to run the B. But we won the B going away, and then started behind the dash cars, which was 8 cars. So we started out at 9 or something. And we got to the lead. We passed all these cats, and we got to the lead, and we're going away for a little while, and then we got caught in traffic a little bit, and then, you know, we got passed by Mark Kinser again, 5 laps to go, and even though we didn't win, that was just always it was a big thing, you know. So yeah, it was just a cool thing. That was probably one of the coolest things I've done.
And that Vegas race that I think you told me before, if you had won, you would have been the first Australian ever to win the World of Outlaws show. So I mean, that was a big deal.
It was a big deal, you know, but, you know, we didn't. So we ran second. You know, I think Brooke Tatnell became the first one to ever win an Outlaw show, and he's good mates with me. But yeah, it would have been really cool. But second was pretty cool too, though. You know, it was just cool. Win would have been better, but it wasn't a bad thing.
Well, any stories or anything that you want to say before I let you go about Morrie Williams or the Zero team?
Yeah, he always wore his white coveralls, as he call them. You know, I call them overalls, he called them coveralls. And no matter where we were, he would put them on if he was working on the car or whatever. And we're in Sioux Falls, and we found this car wash, and he's got his coveralls on, and you know, he's got the broom out, kind of sweeping up a bit of mess that we made there, and then this guy comes up and asks him for some change for some. So, like, do you work here? We need some change for the, you know, machine to get us through. And he said, "Oh no, they don't trust me with money." That's probably the funniest thing that I remember of him. In reality, I don't know. He was just he was just a good guy, and I miss him so much.
No doubt. No doubt.
He, like I said, he was a lot like a father figure to me, and there's days where I'm doing what I'm doing now, and I wish I could talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, he was just a good guy. He was like, yeah, there's nothing. Him and Katie, they're just good people, and that's the best thing I can say about anyone. They were good people, and they still are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I just miss him terribly.
Did
and I'm sure Katie does too, but she's still close with my wife and my boys and me as well, you know, so they're still very much in our life. So,
and that's so great that connection is still there, that it's not severed because of such a major loss like that you guys are continuing on and continuing to make memories.
Yeah, no, and you know, we have the Morrie Williams race obviously coming up here, and I'm just so happy to at my place, you know. So because he was so special to me, so it just to me it makes sense that it's at Hanford, you know. So, and I like we used to run Chico every Friday night, and then we would turn around and we'd run Hanford the next day, or Bakersfield, or Santa Maria, you know.
Mm-hmm. Like
Friday nights in Chico was just a local 4:10 show, but we would be there every week, every show, except if we went out to the Midwest. And then we would go to the Midwest and we would be gone for like, you know, 38 days, and we would race like 32 times.
Wow.
It's just incredible. Like, life was good, you know. Life is still good, but life was really good hanging out with him, you know.
Well, and so you guys would race Chico on Friday nights. The team based in Oakhurst, which is
Yep.
outside of Fresno, it was a
Yep.
hike just to get to Chico. And
It was 5 hours back then every time to get there, and then to race the next day, would be Golden State or King of the West or NARC or whatever they called it, but and it didn't matter where it was, we would be going. But I remember going to Chico on a Friday night, and then traveling all the way up to Skagit to run Saturday night there the week before Dirt Cup. Like it was just and he drove. He was our only driver. Like
holy smokes.
He's a truck driving fool.
Mm-hmm.
So
you guys would race Friday at Chico, regular show, and then the next night be at Skagit.
Yep.
Good Lord, that's
yeah.
That's like 12 hours in a passenger car. That's dedication.
Yeah, it's a trip. So, yeah. But that's the thing. He lived to go racing. So he was just cool. That was all.
How did he do? How was there a rotation? Like there'd have to be somebody in the passenger seat keeping him awake, or was there certain music? Or
no, he would just drive until he couldn't drive anymore. So he was just that kind of a guy. He would stop and have a stop there. Like he would drive for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So he was just an absolute steam engine when it comes to doing that stuff. So
yeah. Well, I could only imagine in the Midwest his stamina for driving. I'm sure that was equally impressive.
Yeah,
well.
no, we got in trouble once we got pulled over. There was a place where the police were pulling people over, like you checking logbooks and stuff, and hey, you got to stop here, and you can't drive any further. So we'd pull over, and he'd have a sleep for 4 hours or something. And me and Ashley, like in this parking area, me and Ashley would just unload and we'd start working on our shit then. It's like, so it was just kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever get the story why you like to wear white overalls? Is that just an old school thing, or just the Morrie way?
That's just old school. Old school. When he raced his modified, he wore white overalls. That's what you did.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was just and then I kind of figured out, while I was there working for him, was actually, it was actually pretty cool to wear the white overalls. It was a lot cooler, you're welding or something, you put the white overalls on and just, you go home, you put underpants on, no t-shirt underneath the overall. It was actually cooler. So
sure,
it's like, there you go. So
reflects heat, doesn't absorb it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
there's always methods to madness.
Yes, there is. So.
Wow.
No, he was just a cool guy, just absolutely cool. He had rules though, you weren't allowed to drink before the night of a race, and that. So, and unfortunately, every now and again, I used to break the rules.
Sure.
Especially when I was up at Skagit, I was kind of known for after the races, singing songs and Christmas carols from Australia that weren't quite right. Telling jokes and things, and I remember it's like at Skagit, like, because it was such a party atmosphere that then I'd wake up and I have this hangover all day long, and I'm thinking, shit, I can't do this again, and get to the drivers' meeting, and all of a sudden, our motor starts and I start feeling good again, and then we go out there and we run second, we either win it or run second or third, and the prelim is like, get back to the top of the hill, and it's like, woohoo, let's go again, it's like, holy shit. But because he didn't stay at the track, so I was a little bit cheeky on some times. But yeah, it was all good.
No doubt. And then you guys ended up going back to Knoxville too on occasions. Mm-hmm.
Pretty much every year I was with him, we went back. So, and I'm like, sorry, I mean, we'd go back to the Midwest, and we would run, at least 30 nights out of 38 being away, like. Because that's, the Gum Out series was on, plus the Outlaws, plus whatever was local, plus NCRA out there or whatever it was back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Knoxville and, Jacksonville, Illinois and shit like that. We just go and race. The Outlaws or someone would go with them, It was just, something that was just cool.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, living like a true outlaw, just hitting
yeah,
whatever's available and getting laps.
yeah,
Yeah. Wow.
yeah. No, just gypsy lifestyle, you know.
Sure. Oh yeah, wherever the wind blows you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. And what's cool is that you've remained friends and close, obviously with the family, but also Ashley too. And
Oh
you
yeah,
guys.
no, man, actually are such good mates. Just yeah, you know, I got so much mad respect for Ashley.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lot of wins together, we had a lot of good times together. So you know, he's always been a big part of my life, so as well. So yeah, that was all good. There's nothing. There's not one bad time that I can ever remember. So other than probably when I left, so
Mm-hmm.
that was probably the worst time. But that was my call, not his. Like he didn't want me to, you know. It's just I got offered a deal which didn't turn out to be quite right. But you know, you got to try.
Yeah.
Things
Yeah.
things happen. So
But it was amicable. There was no animosity.
no, no, it was all good.
Well, that's good. Well, Pete, I really appreciate you opening up, and I mean those are definitely some great stories, and
Yeah,
and you know it's important to tell those stories because
yeah,
they get lost if they're not spoken.
yeah, yep. No, definitely.
Well, that is going to do it for this interview. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure and hit the like and subscribe button on whatever platform you found this interview at. It really helps us grow the channel, and we greatly appreciate it. In the meantime, we'll be back with more content and interviews in the future. Be sure and have a great evening or a great rest of your day, whatever time you're listening.